done?
Get Rikers closed!
Get stuff done?
Get Rikers closed!
Advocates are turning Mayor Adams' catchphrase against him, and several of his fellow elected officials joined in the rally Thursday, demanding that he do everything in his power to shutter Rikers Island in 4 years, as required by law.
The inconsistent statements from the administration over the past few days have unacceptably created questions where there should be no question.
That's right. No question.
Rikers must close by 2027.
City Council Speaker Adrienne Adams was referencing the public notice published Monday by the Adams administration indicating that one of the 4 borough-based jails needed to replace Rikers, this one in Brooklyn, would not be built until 2029. Adams has recommitted to this.
We're going to follow the law. The plan was flawed, but we're going to follow the law.
But compared to the council speaker, City Comptroller Brad Lander, and public advocate Jumaane Williams, the mayor has been far less confident that the closed Rikers plan adopted under Bill de Blasio is the best path forward.
There should have been a plan B. We can't be so optimistic that we're not realistic or idealistic that we're not realistic.
An administration spokesman says the previously set budget and timeline for the borough jails were unrealistic. And now, market tested, it's confronting the realities of supply chain and labor shortages in material and labor costs. Williams says they're stalling.
The folks who oppose and push back on us agree with how dangerous Rikers is.
At the correctional complex, the majority of detainees continue to be there awaiting trial.
But I gotta tell you, even the folks who are sentenced were not sentenced to death.
Though the city jail's population fell to less than 4,000 before the pandemic, it's now at 5,900. The number of those behind bars needs to be drawn down to 3,300 for the adopted closure plan to work.
Why are we not exploring the supportive housing, the community-based healthcare clinics, and the models of community-based mental health that actually help people get better?
At City Hall, Emily Ngo, New York.
Advocates and elected officials rallying outside of City Hall today because of what they're calling an ongoing humanitarian emergency at Rikers Island.
Yeah, we've heard this a lot. News 12's Marissa Marcelino has more on their urgent calls to shut the city jail down.
Get with the program and close Rikers now. That's the message these city council members and prison reform advocates have for Mayor Eric Adams.
Fiscally, it does not make sense for us to keep pouring billions into a system that dehumanizes, traumatizes, and releases our folks back to the community worse than where they came.
They're fed up after the Adams administration released a proposed contract notice on Monday for a new Brooklyn-based jail. City law says Rikers must shut down by August 31st, 2027, but the construction plan says it won't be done before 2029. Brad Lander says we don't have time to wait.
It cannot be a game of roulette to await your fair day in court. Those folks should be alive and with us today.
Officials say over 24 people have died while incarcerated at Rikers in the last 2 years. City Council Speaker Adrienne Adams says the jail exposes staff and detainees to violence and makes the city less safe.
Rikers has become more of a de facto mental health facility, which only worsens the existing challenges for people to successfully re-enter our communities.
This group says it's time to work together to provide alternatives to incarceration.
Let's actually put resources into the supportive housing that people need. Let's actually put resources into supervised release. Let's actually put resources to safe solutions that keep people in communities.
Many advocates and elected officials here today are calling on the mayor to live up to his motto of getting stuff done. They're calling on him to close Rikers by 2027, saying it's not only morally but legally necessary. That's the latest from City Hall. Marissa Marcelino, News 12.
Marissa, thank you. We did reach out to the mayor's office after the information about the Brooklyn detention complex was released. They told us, quote, this contract reflects realities facing the construction industry and requirements laid out in the law passed by the city council. This administration will always follow the law, and the law says that the jails on Rikers Island must close on time.
33 right now, and a 2-year delay in the plan to shut down Rikers Island drew harsh criticism from elected officials at a rally outside City Hall yesterday.
Rikers must close by 2027, and we cannot allow it to continue undermining public safety issues across our city. Month after month, we see someone lose their life on Rikers. at levels that are nearly unprecedented, with 19 people having died in our jail system in 2022, making it the deadliest year in a decade.
So in an unprecedented move, City Council Speaker Adrienne Adams right there expected to chair a City Council budget hearing for the Department of Corrections. And joining us this morning to address these concerns and more is New York City Corrections Commissioner Louis Molina. So, Commissioner, good to see you this morning.
Good morning. Thank you for having me.
So you just heard from Adrienne Adams right there. She was frustrated over the fact that there may or may not be on track to close Rikers Island in 2027. What is the likelihood that the jail complex will actually close in 2027?
Well, given that the City Council passed a local law that the island does close in 2027, then we are following the law and the island is going to close.
So if it does close and the borough-based jails are not ready, for Mayor, for example, so the Brooklyn one isn't on track, are the other boroughs on track to open in 2027? And if not, where do they go?
Yeah, so the on-track pace could better be answered by the Department of Design and Construction because they're overseeing the development of the new borough-based jails. But that is the question, right, that the City Council, I think, needs to think about, is what we're thinking about, is where do the person in custody go? Our population has been just over 6,000, and we predict that our population by September of 2024 will be 7,000. So it's a question that needs to be answered and really thought about before we get to 2027.
The mayor said, 2027, that's it. There's no other way to look at it. But he said then, if this doesn't work, there has to be a plan B. What would that plan B even look like?
Yeah, so we're in discussions to think about what that plan B would look like. There's opportunities where possibly detainees could be placed in other jurisdictions to be housed. That would be inefficient, in my opinion, to do that. So we have to talk with members of the elected officials on the council and have constructive conversations of how do we manage the jail system of the city.
One of the council members yesterday at that rally, Lincoln Ressler, had talked about how there have been previously declines in the population in previous administrations, but it seems the population's going up. And you just hinted at saying 6,000 now, and you anticipate it going up to 7,000. Why is the number going up?
So the number's going up primarily because the adjudication of justice, our court system, is not moving fast enough. So our average length of stay have increased. So prior to the pandemic, our average length of stay was about 80-something days. Mm-hmm. During the peak of COVID, it rose to 140 days and has settled now to 115 days. There's a backlog of cases for detainees that are charged with very violent crimes. Mm-hmm. For example, we have over 1,000 detainees that are charged with murder. Those trials take time to see through the courts. And as arrests come in for violent crimes, there's a backlog of cases with our court system.
Bottom line is there are still inmates there. And you've expressed concerns about the safety for inmates and correction officers. Has the safety improved? Yeah,
so we have been stabilizing the system, and safety has improved. I'm happy to just share with you today that assaults on staff, fiscal year to date, are down 42%. Slashing and stabbings department-wide are down 16%. Calendar year to date, through our first quarter of 2023, slashing and stabbings are down 35%. So things are improving. We are stabilizing the system. But given the magnitude of all the damage and the dismantelization that was done to our criminal justice system from 2015 to 2021, what we've accomplished over the last 15 months has been a Herculean task.
Yeah. So you use the word stabilize, right? So let's take a look at some of the other numbers. 19 inmates lost their life at Rikers Island last year. So far this year, the number sits at just one death reported at Rikers Island, right? So you talk about the stabilization. What are some of the things that you implemented in your administration that seem to be working, that maybe weren't there in the past?
Sure. So a number of things. I think one is we entered into an organizational health strategy to support our uniform and non-uniform staff. What that has done is that it has decreased staff absenteeism by 73%. It wasn't long ago, 15 months ago, we had over 2,600 persons out sick at any one time. That number has been significantly under 700. And when you think about people calling in sick, on an average, about 100, 120 people may call in sick in a given day. Our indefinite sick, individuals that were out sick 30 days or more, there used to be 1,200 people in January of 2022. That number today sits around 400, and those individuals are recovering from work-related injuries, being assaulted by detainees, or others that are recovering from something like cancer. So the numbers have come down significantly. We've significantly improved our medical production. So we have, like I said, just under 6,000 detainees in custody. Correctional Health Services schedules over 500,000 medical encounters a year. For non-escorts, that number of staff unavailable to bring someone to like a dental appointment is under 1%. So we've made significant strides. We brought back tactical search operations. We've recovered over the last 15 months over 5,000 weapons and over 1,300 contraband narcotics. We've done canine contraband narcotics interdiction, and now we're doing body scanning of staff coming into facilities.
Yeah, but nevertheless, they still feel a little unsafe. Some of the officers still being attacked within the jail. What else is being done to make them feel more safe?
So I engage, and my senior leadership team engage with the staff on a daily basis, right? Regardless of what rank the staff member is or if they're uniform or non-uniform. When I tour the jails and I speak with staff, there is a sense of calm in our facilities today that wasn't present for a long, long time. I'm sure there are some staff members, you know, we had 18 female staff members last year that were sexually assaulted. That's a really traumatic thing to overcome and survive. So I understand from their point of view if they don't feel safe. And in an organization made up of 43% of women, which is something to be very, very proud of as a law enforcement agency, I get it. And every day we support our staff to make sure that they have a good work-life balance and come to a workplace that is safe.
So in terms of safety as well, a lot of it has to do with contraband that might make its way inside the jails. And earlier this week, the New York City Board of Corrections voted against a ban of inmates receiving physical mail. Now, you supported the effort to digitize the mail.
Yes.
What was the reasoning behind supporting that measure? Because does the mail get searched physically before it makes its way to an inmate anyway?
Yeah, so not all of the mail. So the volume of mail that we get on average is about 1,000 letters a day. Non-legal mail, we're talking about personal letters, and another significant amount of packages that may come in from loved ones. So given the volume of mail that is coming in, and given that this country is under an overdose epidemic happening in our country, and with the introduction of fentanyl, I want to be able to keep people safe. The Board of Corrections decision not to take any action, I believe, is very, very irresponsible. It's disappointing because all it is doing is placing our staff and people in custody safe by exposing them to fentanyl.
But is there no way to screen those letters before it makes its way to an inmate, regardless if you digitize it or not?
So we've evaluated that, and the reason why we want to go to digitalization is because it's the safest way to mitigate against any contraband narcotics coming in through non-legal mail. We would take significant staffing resources to inspect every letter. We're talking 250,000 to 300,000 letters a year to be physically inspected by staff.
Yeah, there's so much more we would like to talk to you about. I know you're going before the City Council next week.
Yes.
So make sure you come back. And we'll
always happy
this
to.
Topic.
Thank you for having me.
Commissioner, thank you.
He's the author of Better Not Bitter, Living on Purpose in Pursuit of Racial Justice. He's a 2023 candidate for New York City Council. Also joining us is our very own Reverend Al Sharpton, host of MSNBC's Politics Nation. Great to have you gentlemen here.
Thank you.
Mr. Salam, that tweet blew up for understandable reasons. What was going through your head? What did you think when you saw the news about Trump's indictment?
You know, I got to tell you, I was looking for this quote by Dr. Martin Luther King Jr., because I thought it was so appropriate how he mentioned that the arc of the moral universe is long, but it bends towards justice. Back in 1989, we're talking about almost 34 years ago, you know, the spike wheels of justice ran over us. And much of it was predicated by what Donald Trump did by taking out that full-page ad. That ad was written, I should say it was placed in the papers 2 weeks after we were accused. We weren't given the presumption of innocence. They looked at the color of our skin and judged us by it and not the content of our character. And the challenge in that is having to live through that all of those decades. Even still now, we still have those indelible scars. The beautiful thing about it is that we get an opportunity to almost have all of the
cowards. They're gutless. They're not here. I'm talking about gun violence.
You know, there's never been.
I'm talking about gun violence.
In a school that allows teachers to carry.
Carry guns? You think more guns lead to more death? More guns lead to more death. Look at the data. You're not looking at any data. You're carrying the water for the gun lobby. Look at the data. More guns lead to more deaths. States that have open carry laws have more deaths.
In every school
States that have open carry laws have more deaths.
There's never been a shooting.
Are you listening to what I'm saying?
Yeah, calm down.
Calm down. Children are dying. 9-year-old children. The solution is not arming teachers. Have you ever worked in a school? 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 It's a yes or no question. Have you ever worked in a school? You will not answer my question. Don't stop and talk to me. Okay, I'll bring it down a notch. Have you ever worked in a school?
I've got a bill to repeal.
I worked in the school for 20 years. I was a team. I was screaming before you came and interrupted me. I worked in the school for 20 years. I worked in the school 20 years. I was a teacher. I was a school counselor. I was a middle school principal. I was in cafeterias, protecting kids every day of my career. Clown. He can't even answer a yes or no question. Answer. Why would they pass legislation? Why? Answer the question. Ask him right now. Make him answer.